Okay, so we're on this page. You guys are going to lift these tabs and we're going to fill in underneath. So underneath y, that is the dependent variable. That's something you guys will learn more about in science this year, actually, independent and dependent variables. So math and science are kind of like cousins, and so there's a lot of things that overlap between the two things. So dependent variable depends on something else. The m is the slope or the rate of change. The x is the independent variable. Barely made that fit. And then the b. B is what we're going to start talking about today. We haven't really talked about tons, but it's the y-intercept. So that's where the line crosses the y-axis. It's sometimes called the initial value. I'm going to make my eye better. In word problems, it would be the flat phi and the starting point. So underneath that, we have three equations, some of which are in y equals format, and we're going to identify the slope and the y-intercept. So the y equals 2x plus 3, wherever you have that on your page, find that one. What is the slope of that one? 2/3. So underneath, we're going to write m equals 2/3. One thing that I've seen some of you doing right now, not right now, but in some of your homework, is you've been writing 2/3 x as the slope. But the slope doesn't include the x. It's just the coefficient of x. So the b in this one would be positive 3. In this second equation, it's in y equals, so the m would be 3/2, and the b would be 4/3. Then the last one we're going to need to chat about. So we practiced the other day putting equations into y equals format. I'm actually going to clear my screen off so I'm just going to rewrite it. It's 4 equals negative y minus 3x. Okay, so one thing that some students do is they literally flip this entire thing around. So it would be negative y minus 3x equals 4. Is that okay? Yeah, so it kind of helps you get it more in the order you're used to. So we're going to write that underneath. Now we're solving for y. So I need to move this entire box, the negative 3x, to the other side. So how do I do that? Add 3x. What I do to one side, I have to do to the other, but I'm not actually adding these two things together. So now I'm left with negative y. So some of us, when we bring this down, we forget to bring this negative sign, and then it ends up messing us up later. Equals, and then I'm going to rearrange this and put 3x plus 4. So am I in y equals now? So I'm all done? Nope, because I have basically a negative 1 stuck to the y, so how do I unstick them? Divide by negative 1. And what I do, I have to do to everything. So I would be left with y equals negative 3x minus 4. So I did all of that to get it in y equals. Now I'm going to identify what is my slope. -3 or -3 over 1. And what's my y-intercept? -4. So feel pretty good about that. All right, so now we're going to turn to the next page. We're going to use this now to actually graph our lines. So at the top, it's just some information. We're going to go to example 2 here. Example 1, sorry. Example 1, find the slope and y-intercept of this equation. So is this written in y equals? So what's the slope? 5, or 5 over 1. What's the y-intercept? 12. Example 2, this one freaks people out. Is that in y equals form? Is it technically? Could you rewrite this as y equals 3x plus 12 and it means the exact same thing? Yes. So what's the slope? Is it negative? It's just 3. And what's the y-intercept? 12. Okay. Now we get to example 3. Is that in y equals? No. So we have to do a little bit of work. First thing that I would do is I would flip-flop it and write it as 2y equals -18x plus 10. So because this is an equal sign, like, I can literally just move them around. Now what do I do? Divide everything by 2. So I would get y equals -9x plus 5. So what's my slope? -9. What's my y-intercept? 5. Okay, once you can identify the slope and the y-intercept from y equals mx plus b, it makes graphing way easy. Okay, so next page we're going to actually graph using that. So there's steps up there. You can look at those if you need later. They gave us a line. We have to find the slope, the y-intercept, and then write the equation. So first thing that we're going to do is identify, hey, where does this cross the y-axis? Right there. So what would that be called? Y-intercept. So it's 1. Do you agree? So our b is 1, positive 1. I'll do a plus right here just so that. All right, so we got that. Now I need to find the slope. So to find the slope of a line, I already have one point where it crosses exactly on a corner. Way down here is another point that crosses exactly on a corner. So to find the slope, I'm going to rise up how much? 5. And run out how much? 3. So 5 over 3, but here's what some people forget. It's negative. Why is it negative? Negative slope. So when I write the equation, I'm going to write y equals -5/3 x plus 1. Because all I really did was I substituted the m and the b where they went. That's how we got that. That's how I feel about that. Pretty chill. Okay. All right. We'll move to example 2. Same thing. Find the slope and y-intercept and then write the equation. So where does it cross the y-axis? Way down here, right? And so you guys agree? -5? Okay, and then they picked some ordered pairs for us, or we have this ordered pair too. So we would rise up, run out, and we would rise up how much? 4. So 4 over 2. And what kind of slope is this? Negative. But I have to reduce that. So it would be -2 over 1, or you might just see it as -2. So our equation would be written as y equals negative 2 over 1x minus 5. So why is this minus 5 this time? Because it's a negative y-intercept, so that changes that sign. Okay, feeling okay? These pages are like ginormous just because I had too much space and the graphs take up a lot of space. So, all right, example 3. I put the steps at the top. We're going to actually just go do it. Using the following equation, plot the line on the coordinate plane. Okay, first thing, is it in y equals? Yes. So easy because it's already in y equals for us. Second thing, we're going to identify the b. So what's the b? 2. That's the first thing I'm going to plot. I'm going to go to my y-axis, and this is positive 2, so I'm going to put a dot at positive 2 on the y-axis. Okay. Then I'm going to say, hey, what's the slope of this? But really, it's 3 over 1. So from the dot that I already put on the graph, I'm going to use this slope, and I'm going to rise up and run out. So I'm going to rise up 3, 1, 2, 3, and then run 1. So from this dot that I had put on there, I rise 3, like I climb 3 ladder things, and then I run 1. Okay? And then I'm like, hey, I wish I could like get some more points, but if I keep going up and over, that doesn't really work out for me. So is positive 3 over 1 the same as negative 3 over negative 1?
Yes.
Yeah, so from this dot, I'm going to drop 3 and run left 1 because that's the same, on the same line, right? So I could keep going more. I could drop 3 and go left 1. So the more dots I have, the straighter my line will be. So before we draw our line, do you agree that this slope is 3 over 1, 3 over 1, 3 over 1, 3 over 1? Yeah? See how it makes the stair steps over and over and over? So then I'm going to take a straight edge and I'm going to draw a straight line on my dots. All right, looking at example 2, we have a new equation. Is it in y equals? Yes. So first thing we're going to do is identify the b. What's the b? 8. So I think I made this graph not big enough. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. One more. So there's 8. That would confuse people when they look at their notes. But yes, you could have. Next thing we're going to do is find the slope. Our slope in this one is negative 2 over 3. So here's the thing. Negative means we're going to drop 2, but the bottom one's positive, so we're going to go right 3. Okay, so I'm going to drop 2 and then right 3. And I'm going to draw this point, and then I'm going to stop, and I'm going to ask myself, hey, if I drew a line, would that make a negative slope?
Yes.
Yes, so now I'm going to keep going because I know I'm on the right track. I always have to ask myself, am I on the right track? So then I'm going to drop 2 and run 3. And that's about all we can fit on that graph. So then I'm going to draw as straight a line as I can. It's not great. Sometimes when I try to make my arrows better, I actually make them worse. Yay. Okay, feel okay? The example 3 is it in y equals format. But some people don't think so. It's just completely flipped around. So really this is the same as y equals 1/2 x plus 5. All right, so what's the first thing I'm going to look at? Y-intercept. What's my y-intercept? Positive 5. So I'm going to go up 5, put a dot. Now I'm going to look at my slope. In this case, it is 1/2, and it's positive. So that tells me I'm going to rise 1 and run 2. Is that going to make a positive slope when I'm done? Yep, so I'm going to rise 1 and run 2. So I kind of ran out of room. So what could I do to get some more dots? I could go down 1 and left 2. So once I have those dots, I can draw my line. And that's it for today.